Hey gang, Kevin here, Life22, and today we have Mayor Bill Aiello on the show, and he's the current incumbent for the mayoral seat for Olean for the race coming 2025, taking term 2026. And let's switch over, and other than title text, there we go. And Bill Aiello, ladies and gentlemen.
Well, thank you, Kevin, for having me here. Been a while. It's been a long time. I think this is my first time here speaking with you, at least on Life22.
Yeah.
So I appreciate the opportunity to be here.
Yeah, not a problem. Mm-hmm. So, as most of my guests, I just kind of fill everybody in. We usually do just like an open forum discussion. So we can talk about current topics. We can talk about past topics. We can go down a rabbit hole. If you don't want to talk about your favorite chewing gum, we can do it. It's one of those. It's just I try to keep it free form. Mm-hmm. A lot of people are like, oh, hit this person with a hard-hitting question. Hit this one. My goal is you don't invite someone over to your house to beat them up. It's one of those, like, I want to have like a good discussion with everybody that comes through here. Like me and Vernon, I think he was one of the first ones of the season to come on in politics, and we had a great conversation. And it's like me and him butt heads on a couple topics, but for the most part, we had a great, a great couple. A great like hour-long podcast or so, and then I know your competitor was on your opponent was on the podcast, and me and her butted heads on a couple issues, but for the most part, it was very well received.
Yeah, well, it's okay to have difference of opinions,
right?
And as long as you're respectful,
right?
And you got to respect everybody's opinion. So it may not be what you're thinking, it may not be what you believe, but if that's truly what they believe, you have to respect that.
Right. Yeah.
So.
And the nice part about a debate or an idea or a conversation, even if it turns into an argument, at least you're going away with what the other person believes, and maybe you can grow and change as a person, and maybe you start slowly changing the way you think because maybe somebody brings up an idea, or vice versa. Yeah. You say something to somebody else, and they say, "Hey, I never thought about it that way." That's phenomenal,
and you're right there about that, because there's probably not a day that doesn't go by that somebody stops by the office and says, have you ever thought of this? Have you thought of this? And you talk to them about it, and they got an idea. Okay, well, and then one of the favorite things I like to do is if they come in and they say so, I says, well, what would you do to fix it?
Right.
It's and you do get a lot of good information.
Yeah. So. People do get a little frustrated. I want you to fix it. Well, I'm here to kind of manage the show, if that's, you know what I mean. And then you do have that issue where people think that you have all the answers, and you can't have all the answers,
right? Because
otherwise you wouldn't be the mayor; you'd be the president of the world, right?
Yeah.
Like you'd have all the answers, but
no one has all the answers,
right?
But as long as you put things out there, and as long as you're being truthful. There's a lot of times that I've said to people that, and I learned this when I was early on in the police department, when I was there, which I was there for 32 years, that, it's people, they hate to hear there's nothing I can do, okay? Because there always is. You can listen. You may not have an answer. You may not be able to help them, but you can listen to their concerns, and you can learn from those concerns.
Right.
So that's a big part of being in the public sector, is listening, hearing what they have to say, let them voice their opinions, let them vent, and and a lot of times people will leave happy. They're happy they got it off their chest.
Yeah.
And especially with things that go on in the city, you say, well, that's not the way, that's not the law. The Common Council has made the law, and here's how we have to enforce it.
Right.
And so there's good laws, and there's laws that we're always taking a look at laws and saying, is there a better way we can do it?
Right.
So, but people want to be heard, and they want you to listen to them. Used to frustrate my wife to no end. We'd go out and be in a restaurant, we'd be eating, somebody come over and say, I know you're not working, and I say, wait a minute, I am. I work 24/7, and right. And hear what they have to say, and they're happy,
right?
And you don't shut people out. You don't say, come back tomorrow. I'm eating right now. I never do that. I always listen to them, and And now I may give them my card and say, you know what, this is Friday night. Call me Monday or email me Monday. Remind me what we talked about here, and I'll get an answer for you. So, and that's what people want in a mayor.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
So.
They, and that's. Yeah, because the other thing is that, like, explaining to people how things work. Sometimes they get frustrated with how they work,
Right.
and then they might not leave happy just because they're frustrated with everything else that's going on. You know, and it's like,
Yeah.
I remember when I was an alderman just getting those, well, I can't believe you can't do this. Like, like I can't take care of the rubbish neighbors that moved into the rental next to your house. I'm sorry, you can't just go in with a shotgun and clear the house
There's
out.
a process.
Right.
There's a process, and that has to go through.
Right. And they're just because you don't like the way somebody lives doesn't mean it's against the law.
Right.
And they're not going to legislate laws on how people live because you can get too micromanagey with that.
Yeah, that's you can't do that. So
Yeah.
you have to, there are laws. We get a lot of them that calls on people as to this time of the year, high grass, garbage in their lawn. People they'll leave a couch or a chair out in the subway, and and codes takes care of that. But there's a process.
Right. 30 days or something.
Well, they get a notice. They have to do something, I think, on the grass 5 days,
and then
then we can either cut it and charge them, or they can take them into court.
Right.
And the court's a longer process. So.
Right.
So, but it's just like right now, when I'm driving around, I see a lot of grass just being shot out into the street, and people don't realize what a hazard that is, especially to now the scooters and the bicycles and the motorcycles.
Motorcyclists, yeah.
Yeah. I'm not a motorcycle rider, but I've been told that grass on the road is just like ice.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And
15 minutes after it rains, if it hasn't rained in like a week or so, within like the first I think it's 5 minutes, or is it 10? Usually you're supposed to wait a good 15 minutes before you hit the road if you're going to ride in the rain.
Yeah.
Like if you're at a store, and it happened to me when I was in high school. It started raining, and I was like, oh man, I better get home, and I rushed, and all the oil that had built up on the roads, the roadways, it just creates this film, and you hydroplane, and you slide out. And
the other thing that's shooting the grass into the street is it plugs up our sewers.
Right.
And and that's a lot of the issue with the backups and stuff, is especially on your streets, they back up when it's heavily rains. The sewers are plugged because of the grass clippings that are going in there. It's one of the reasons we use salt, not sand, salt mixture.
Right.
Because the sand will plug up the sewers.
Right.
So it's just but there's people want to be heard. They want their concerns met, and our codes department are doing a good job. I mean, there's frustration there on both sides, on people to call and also our code officers, but they have laws to follow.
Right.
So and they do the best that they can to get that done.
Sometimes PR, I think, is a big issue.
PR is a big issue. Yeah, and that's with any anywhere you go.
Right.
I try to instill in our employees that just what I said. People want to be heard. Listen, and be attentive when you're listening. It's nothing worse than going somewhere and the person waiting on you does not listen to you.
Right.
So, and it's that frustration can set in too up
Sure.
at City Hall.
Yeah.
But we have good workers. They get, especially in our water department and upstairs and the water bills and that, people get very upset with the water bills, and they have a tendency to take it out on the girls on the phone. It's not their fault. They're doing their jobs.
Right. Yeah.
So
that whole side of the building. I was gonna say after I paid my dog's bill the other day for his renewal.
Oh yeah.
And I waited till June 1st. I should have done it. I could have done it the week before, but I waited till June 1st, and the new kid in there, I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but he goes, "You're not going to yell at me, are you?" And I'm like, "Why?" And we work together, so I know him, and I'm like, "Why would I yell at you?" He's like, "Well, it went up $10." And I'm like, "Oh."
Yeah.
He's like, "We get a lot of complaints that people pay it after June 1st. That they found out the prices went up." Then I was like, "It's fine. It's $10. Like, you already got. I'm one of the there's 6,000 homes in the city.
Yeah.
12 to 14,000 people. And I think I was talking to Crawford, and he mentioned that there was like 65% of people own dogs, at least one.
Yeah, we have a good number of people that own dogs and cats, and
That's
and
so.
we got a few people that own snakes. We got they own what are the rodents?
Guinea pigs. Guinea pigs, hamsters, gerbils.
Hamsters, gerbils, yeah. You know, I don't know about ferrets. Now, see, when growing up, our son had a ferret.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so that was interesting. He was it took a lot of stuff and hit it, and he got up under in one of the bed box springs, and when we went to after he unfortunately passed away, and then we were flipping mattresses and stuff in the box springs, and you saw a hole, and Patty looked in there, and there was a hairbrush that we couldn't find. That he couldn't find all these other things that he got up in there and hid up in there. So, so it's just little things that happen. So
I had guinea pigs when I was a kid. Never a ferret. I had guinea pigs and gerbils. So, but yeah, it was one of those. Yeah, no, there's just PR is a big thing. I don't think a lot of people. I think I watched the debate. I haven't given my official take on the debate yet. I think that you did very well, given the fact that you've been there for 12 years,
yes.
And so, and that was one of the things that like I was expecting more of from your opponent was more of a because I did this when I first was running for alderman. Well, I'll wait till I get there and I'll open up under the hood. And there wasn't a ton of that, but at the same time, I didn't hear as many answers because and I'm going to give it to her naivete that she's not there, so she doesn't realize all the laws that she like has to follow to get certain things done. You can't just go in there and start tearing it up and say, "Oh, I've got all the solutions." Because do you?
Yeah.
Because once you realize how the system works, those solutions don't work.
Yeah. Well, people got to realize that yes, the mayor here, with this strong form of government we have, a strong mayor, that the mayor does run the day-to-day operation, but the mayor doesn't have the final word. You know,
right.
On a lot of things, and especially when it comes to the fund balance, the mayor can't spend a fund balance.
Right.
The common council is the only one that can authorize spending out of the fund balance.
Right.
So it's not as mayor I'm going to do this. As mayor I'm going to do this. You know, it's and the other thing that one of the things that came out during she was critical of me for using the term we. And you know what? We as a team.
Right.
And you can't do anything alone. You need strong support from your department heads. You need to have a dialogue and support from the Common Council. You need support from the CEOs in this community.
Sure.
You need support from the public. You need support from the Chamber of Commerce. You need support from the faith-based community. And you can't do it alone. And
right.
It is a we, because you can't go in there and say, I'm going to do this. You know, as
right.
mayor, I'm going to do this. You know, one comment was made was, the mall. She would have demanded that it move faster, or something like that.
Yeah.
But that's, you know what, if that's the attitude that she's going to take with our people that are going to develop things here, we're not going to get very far.
Right. Yeah.
Developers have their own. Take the mall, for instance. He's got his own plan. Yes, we've been talking to him about this plan, but one of the things that's held up the mall is that it took him almost 2 years or better to get it through the Cattaraugus County IDA.
Right.
So that held up things, and now who he's having the housing component with didn't get the funding. Now they'll be trying again for that funding.
Right.
But he's got a plan, and if I stepped in and said, here's a deadline. If you don't have it done by then,
you'll just have another person that just abandons them all.
Yeah.
Because you can't.
Yeah.
It's one of those things. You have to have people there's certain motivations. Sometimes people say, "Hey, I want to buy the house next door to my house because I want to turn a profit." And some people say, "I want to buy it next door to my house because it's next door to my house and I want to be able to regulate my, the niceness of my neighborhood." So you have those two different incentive structures. Developers don't come into an area because they want to make them all look nicer because their grandfather used to live in Olean. That's not always the case. It's very seldom the case. It's usually the case that somebody wants to turn a buck. And it takes a lot of money and a lot of time and a lot of investment to hopefully return on it. And nobody wants to take a huge risk. And if they have to come to an area where, like you said, this is my town, you're going to work at my pace, I don't want to work in that.
No.
Oh, we're gonna that's gonna make my project fail.
Well, this developer at the mall, he did a project in Irondequoit,
Okay.
and he developed that mall there, and now that's his vision for what he wants to do here. So I mean, people can get up there, they can look up Irondequoit Mall and what he's doing there and see, and that's his vision for here.
Right.
And he's I won't use the term fell in love with Olean, but he is very into Olean right now and developing this and wants to see that property grow.
Right.
You know, and so our downtown grows.
And then he develops it, and then I'm assuming he has someone. So developing is kind of a weird thing. So like sometimes you you have a project, and then you sell it off to an entity that's already preordained, or sometimes you find investors that want to buy into it, and then you can go off and develop something else. Yeah. And so either way, once you have a thing, it's built. I think it's an old Lewis Black joke, right? Like what places need is a big thing. Right, it's the field of dreams concept. Right, if you build it, they will come.
Yeah.
So once you build a thing, and then you can show that it operates, it's more marketable.
Yeah.
You have a rundown rental with no tenants in it; they can't pass a code test. Nobody wants to buy it.
Yeah.
It takes somebody motivated who knows how to do it, and then it's more likely for you, who might not know how to fix up a house, to buy something that's already ready to go.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. There's a motivation there. Yes, yeah. Let's face it, nobody's gonna come here and develop something that they don't think they can make a profit on.
Sure.
And you know,
charity starts at home.
Yeah. And he's I think he's really dedicated to getting things done there, and I think we will be getting some things done there. And like any projects, it takes time. But when you get held up for over 2 years trying to get approval, you know, from the IDA,
right.
And it's no secret that there was members on the IDA board that were against the project, and
the IDAs that they're the ones who
industrial development,
and they give out the pilots just for anybody out there in TV land.
The pilots and that, yes,
which is the payment in lieu of taxes.
Taxes, yeah.
Okay.
Yes, and they give out the tax credits that you can get on sales tax, you can get on mortgage tax, and yes, and then they can do a pilot or structure it so that over a period of time, it doesn't go to full value until then.
Right.
So
you can kind of recoup your cost of your investment. And that's I think that's where a lot of people. I had an argument with somebody over the weekend and said, we keep giving out all this free money, right? I know it's the famous cliche of Paul Petruzzi on Facebook, but that where I got into an argument with somebody about it, and I said, you know what, listen, I said, I understand why a big factory wouldn't want to come in here if they're initially paying top dollar. They're still building a building. They're rebuilding the Dresser-Ran, for example, to try to outfit for their place. Well, if they didn't have a pilot, we would not be, the building would sit vacant. There wouldn't be all the jobs.
Yeah.
There wouldn't be some tax payment.
Yeah. Well, New York State is not the easiest place to come and do business.
Right.
Let's face it. So
you can't rewrite county and state laws. So I think that's a big misconception. So it's not just maybe an interview on you, but I think it's also kind of some of the things we're talking about are going to make the general public kind of aware of things that they might not be aware of. That like,
you know, and we're getting the pilot on all of these the different things is very lucrative for the city.
Right.
So I mean the one on East State Street, New East State Street apartments, we're getting a pilot there. It's very comparable to what we would get in tax money. Okay, so and that's over the period of time, but you know, so we got that going on here. We got a lot of things going on here. We got a lot of good. You know, look at our structure or what's going on with some of our factories now. You got Cutco is hiring.
Right.
They put on a third shift. You know, we got Chimilai is they're up to I believe in the area of 150 employees now.
Yeah.
I had a meeting with them not too long ago, and they shared their vision with me. And eventually, here in the next few years, they want to be up over 250 workers, and these are high-end jobs, paying.
Right.
These are the welders and the assemblers and that. You know, they're go there. You got look at Napoleon Engineering.
Sure, yeah,
You know,
Chris.
He just put on a nice big addition, and his business is really growing. Mike John Painting, look at what he, you know, these are people who could have gone anywhere, but they stayed here.
Right.
They stayed local.
Right.
You know, so we've got the fabricators on South Union Street. I'm drawing a blank on their name. it's at the end of South. It's at the end of South Union Street.
Oh, there's the drive shaft specialist.
No, it's a little farther out. They got a fabrication.
Oh, Billings.
Billings, yes.
Billings, yeah. They're over by the Robin's Nest.
You know, they were on 6th Street here. You know, in that little building there, and then they went up there when that became open, and now they're doing great jobs. And then you've got the two brothers that started some fabrication when Siemens went out. They're down on West State Street. They're down there in the across from Taste of Pizza, going west there.
Are they what's in that the down
Skull Brothers?
Oh yeah, the SK Manufacturing.
And, so you've got a lot of things going on. You know, you've got Mazda is moving their one division from I think Orchard Park back to here. You know,
I saw they were putting an addition on, or they were revamping the building.
Revamping on 7th Street. So you've got a lot of different things going on here. You've got a lot of employees. Plus the hospital, they're looking to, you know, they're revamping their emergency room to be more conducive to mental health patients. And so you're going to see some more hiring there going on.
Right.
You know, so we got a lot of good things going on in Olean here.
And I think a lot of people, like New York State in and of itself is not so conducive. So we still have things going on. But, you know, and you have those people pulling the triggers, right, from like Germany, where Siemens said, no, we're pulling Dresser.
Yeah.
And they pulled a lot of their stuff from Dresser just because they're looking at it. They're bean counting back home, wherever their home base is. Just like Bimbo Bakeries. Bimbo? They're based out of Mexico, I believe. South America? Mexico. I think it's Mexico.
Yeah, but they moved their facility down in Pennsylvania.
Yeah,
and
it was a state that was more conducive for taxes, I'm sure. You know, and pay rates, I'm sure, were another issue, and you know, it's all these different things that play a factor in that your hands are tied if you get into the city. You can't yell at your alderman because Bimbo Bakeries is shutting down. That's a state funded issue. Like
these are it's just like they went out. We get our warn notice, and and it's like, you make the calls. I called and talked direct to the people in charge, and they said it's economics.
Yeah.
It's where they can make the bread down and ship it up here cheaper than maintaining a bakery here.
Right.
So
New York State DOT, all the other things, they have trucks and
So I mean, they still have a presence down in Gargoyle Road. They still have the
distribution hub, right, where they park there.
And I don't know what they have in the building down here on 2nd Street. I don't know if there's anything in there anymore, but it's a big building. It'd be nice to get somebody in there, but it's I haven't heard that they've been moving equipment out yet, so that might be a positive too.
Right.
So
yeah.
you never
find somebody
know.
who wants to start a bread company.
Mm-hmm. So, but we've got a lot of good things going on here in Olean, and one of the things I don't understand is I got criticized for attending ribbon cuttings. Now that's
your job, isn't it?
Well, it's progress.
Right.
If we've got ribbon cuttings going on here in Olean, then we got progress going on. So.
That's like if you refuse to kiss a baby, right? Like that's not like a politician's job is to kiss babies and cut ribbons, and then.
Excuse me, I've been under the weather the last few days here, so I'm gonna get another cough drop so I don't cough you out.
Oh, you're fine.
But,
you're fine. I apologize about the air conditioning. I didn't get it installed yet. To me, it's still early in the season, and but the window units are very noisy. So
yeah.
As I was thinking to myself as you were coming here tonight, I was like, man, I'm going to have you on the hot seat.
Yeah, that's okay. That's okay. So, there's I mean, I had some notes to talk about some things, but I just want to have that conversation with you. You were an alderman. You know how things go.
Right.
Up there. And, we've got, just like, the river, it's a hot topic now.
Oh, yeah.
And it's people have this misconception that we're dumping raw sewage every day in the river. June of
2024. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then when we do have to dump, or when we do have to discharge, is the word, it's not raw sewage. It's probably 80% stormwater.
Right.
And the rest is raw sewage. And that comes from the sanitary lines that are still hooked up. We have many sanitary lines that around the city, and we're going to be correcting a lot of this. We're getting a plan in place, but you have your drains hook into the sanitary lines.
So like the storm sewer outside my house might still tie in on the on the Sullivan Street sanitary, for example.
So and we've done, it's on the website, all the ones that they checked out. We've got 14 that we're going to be taking care of. Of them 14, there's 7 or so that need to be contracted out because they're long runs. So we have to, but we're fortunate enough to get a grant of $500,000 that's being controlled by the state, and we'll get a better idea of what's going on and where we need to fix. We've got some good ideas on where we need to fix.
Yeah,
and it's not like we've just been sitting dormant for 12 years. We've been.
I was on the council when the consent order came down.
Yeah,
it was $250,000 a year for however many years. Which, if you're a small municipality that's struggling to stay afloat, $250,000 is a lot of money. And for us to be able to dedicate that to storm sewers and sanitary sewers for relining and stuff, I remember every year arguing, well, can we cut a little bit of it? And it's like, well, no, we can allocate it for, maybe we only use $100,000 this year for lining, but then we can use, do this catch basin and that catch basin with the money. And I remember, what was it, Windus at the time, and then there was Ring, and we were going through and kind of, we would figure out how to allocate it, but it's not like it hasn't been happening.
Well, we've spent over $30 million.
Right.
To correct a lot of these problems. We put our 3 main pump station problems are South 4th Street, Adams Street, and Martha Avenue. We, the council allocated money so we could put generators at all those 3 sites.
Right.
Because we put gas generators in, because when the power goes down, and that's one of the times we had the discharge, is because our power went down. We couldn't pump anymore. And rather than have it back up in homes, you discharge into the river.
Right, and it's already being mixed. I still think that 80% is probably being very conservative towards your critics.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think that it's not 80% stormwater. I'm sure you're probably closer to like 98% stormwater.
Well,
but it's better to be. I guess it's better to be conservative and say that you're dumping more or discharging additional, so that it's still stays as a near and present danger, I guess.
Yeah, we've done an awful lot.
Right.
Could we have done better? Oh yes, definitely we could have done better. But you work within your means.
Right.
We got a budget. People, and rightfully so, they get concerned when you raise water and sewer rates too high, when you raise the budget up. But these are the cost of everything doesn't come down.
Right.
The cost goes up.
Sure.
And
every year.
This year we had the council agreed on 6.2%, and we had the problem with the calculated out to 7.1, and we came up with a plan to correct it. We wanted to issue credits back to everybody for the next year, and the council didn't want that. They wanted the tax bills go out. We wanted them fixed and to send them out, and they wanted to issue checks to people who had refunds coming. So we're dealing now with some small parcels are getting like an 18-cent refund.
I remember when I was a kid, you couldn't cut a check for less than 50 cents because the bank would tell you it cost you more to print the check.
Yeah. So, but we followed the council's wishes. Our people worked very hard on it, and we get it corrected now. It happened. We corrected it. We're taking corrective action. One of the things that the council last week at the meeting, they wanted us to look into some better or some software packages that would be for the budget.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So, and if you recall, back a while ago, we wanted to do this, and they didn't think it was necessary at that time, or the cost was, we took it out of the budget the previous year because the cost was up there. So there's going to be some costs, but in the long run, when you have dedicated software, it's going to be just for that.
Oh, sure.
It's going to be better for everyone.
I run 2 businesses, and each one has $300 a month subscriptions to software. I can't run a rental company for tool rental without the $289 a month software that tracks all the equipment and then tells you who owes money and who still has a piece of equipment and this and that, and then even building software for construction work. People need to.
Well, we're dealing with Excel spreadsheets. We've been dealing with them. That went on before me. It's been going on since, I believe, I was told since Greg Procton was here, who developed them. I may be wrong on that, but with the Excel, they're very awkward, because what I'm being told is you have to go to this one, then to this one, to this one. It doesn't just automatically
do it. Yeah.
Do it. So we need the software.
And then you can edit something, and it can just fall apart on you. I've edited my fair share. I have a four. It's funny because I was talking to somebody the other day, and I was like, I have a 4-year accounting degree, and what do I do? I'm an HVAC technician. I have a 4-year accounting degree, and I remember in college they teach you how to use Excel to make all the basic things, and they kind of teach you how to program it. So I have a rough idea of what Greg Procton did 25 years ago or whatever it was when he created Excel, or created it in Excel, and it's one of those. Yeah. It's one of those things. It's like, it's a handy tool if that's all you had to your means. And when you're a college kid, they want you to be able to build it from scratch.
Right.
And it's like, so you can see how all the parts work. But then after that, when I bought my first rental property, I also bought a set of QuickBooks.
And I'm not making excuses. It shouldn't have happened, but we had an error. We've had an error 2 years in a row now, and that shouldn't have happened. But we've got to give our auditor, we've got to get him the tools that he can work with too.
Sure.
So we don't have these errors.
Right.
And it's it's disheartening, but if there's blame to be placed, it's on me. It stops at the top, and people are right. Yeah. So, but we got to give them the tools. It's like with anything. You do HVAC. If we don't give you the tools to work with,
right,
then you can't do HVAC.
Right.
So with the police department, we don't give them the tools to work with.
Right. You send them into a domestic without body armor or a gun, you might have some issues. But you hope they don't use them. But it's one of those.
You always hope they don't use them.
Right.
Well,
if they have to walk there because they don't have a police car.
Well, we've got good department heads. We have good workers, and I don't care where you go to work, wherever it is, you're always going to get 1 or 2 slugs. Let's face it.
Right.
But we've got 99% of our workers are good workers, and they do the job that's necessary to get things done. They go over and above, because we're short-staffed.
Right.
And we cut our summer help from 8 to 4. We got how many parks to maintain. We got the weed whacking that's falling behind. We're getting caught up on it now. But when you're used to bringing summer help on in the middle of May, and because of the spending freeze, we couldn't bring them on. So then you bring them on June 1. That's
sure.
2 weeks. That and the weather we've had with the rain and that, and look at everybody's grass. I mean, it seems like, you go to sleep at night and your grass is
it's ready to be mowed before you go to work in the morning.
Yeah. Oh.
I remember being on the council, and there'd always be these things. If you looked at all the little budgets in every division, wanted something, and I remember being on the council and thinking how frivolous. And now working for the city, I see, well, it's not as frivolous as I thought. And there were certain things that you could tell, like, all right, the cops want more police cars, and the fire department in the next 5-year plan, they want to have a new ladder truck, and and I saw Chief Mayoral on last week's council meeting, and he was talking about the ambulance fund, but then you start talking about this is where I'd like it to be, and then I think the problem is that the money's not there. And if the money was there, you could have everything you wanted. The problem is, but the general public doesn't see that. They don't see that there's a shortfall everywhere, though. That's not just Olean. It's Portville. It's Allegheny. It's all these municipalities.
Everywhere. If you read the articles from the comptroller's office, sales tax was down all over.
Right.
We hit
that makes up what almost the other 40% of our budget, doesn't it?
It's a good percentage of our budget. Yeah, when you're looking at Well, this year we put in 5.3 million in sales tax that we're gonna in revenue,
Right.
and that's a big chunk of the budget.
Because the general fund is what, about 19, 20 million?
19, yeah, almost 20 million. So,
Yeah, so it's okay. So it's a quarter. Because a lot of people say, "Oh, my taxes are going up 6%," and I don't think a lot of people understand the percentage, which was my issue when I heard that they wanted to generate all the refunds. Oh, we're going to send all these checks back out, and I'm thinking, like, what? What's the big deal? What's an average home in Olean, like $10 in credit I'd get towards next year?
Yeah.
I'm not going to miss the $10. I just paid an extra $10 on my dog. That's 30. That's 50% more for my dog. That's in my head. I'm thinking, if I have to pay an extra $10 and it doesn't leave a deficit in the budget, because now there's still that. Where's that other percentage? Like if we calculated it based on 7.2.
Yeah, it came out to about $74,000 is what it came out to. So
before the checks got cut and new bills got sent out. So
well, that's what we had to come up with to bring it back to 6.2. We had to find another $74,000.
oh, okay. So there were additional like cuts and things in the budget. Oh, okay, gotcha. And that's all been corrected.
Yeah, and we lucked out there because we had, and you probably remember this, but we don't get we had to guesstimate for the city's insurance, and this is the insurance we get from Southern Tier Realty is our insurance agent. This will be our
Workers' comp
not workers' comp, but the rest of the insurances we need.
Gotcha.
So we got a quote to give us a ballpark, and then we were lucky because that came in under budget. Only about $6,000, but that's a in a tight budget, that's a lot of money. But then we also found we had $30,000 when we talked to the bonding company. We had $30,000 that we could use that was left over from some of the projects we're doing, so
Gotcha.
we could use that. And then DPW came up with the rest of the money to make it 74,000. So
Gotcha.
So it's some of it was for the striping. We might not be able to do as much striping this year that we are gonna, but we're gonna live without it.
Yeah.
So this budget we're in now is a very tight budget, and it's gonna cause some heartburn, but we're gonna get through it.
Right.
So.
Yeah, it's one of those, when I heard, I was like 1%. I don't think the general public understands what 1% really is. So it's like, oh, it's a 6%. But I don't think the average family, if they were cutting a check on their tax bill, is going to even notice the bill difference. You see what I mean? Like it's $10 versus if it was 8%, it'd be $20. And it's one of those. Because we're only like, what's the city? Like roughly 25-30% of all the property tax bills that you get. The school is like almost 50% of it. And then the county is like, the county's 25 and we're 25. Or the county might be 20 and we're 30. It's something in there. We're like a quarter of people's budgets and it runs half the city.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's half the city. And that doesn't include the water and sewer, which...
Well, we got a lady stop by today and dropped off her refund check and says she wants the city to have it. It was $8, and she says, "I want the city to have it. I'm not cashing this check." So,
right,
so that'll might cause problems with the books, but there was another one at 18 cents. So those are small ones like that probably aren't going to get cashed.
Yeah, people are going to think they're junk mail.
Mm-hmm.
Like the free water samples when you go to Home Depot and you see them there, it says test your water at home for free. You send it away for a free water sample. They give you the results and they sell your information to a bunch of mailing companies.
Oh, yeah.
So you get tons of just junk mail.
Yeah.
And I'm sure if I got an 18-cent check in the mail and I don't watch the council meetings, I'm going to be like, what is this? I don't want to cash this because it could be a scam. The Prince of Nigeria is trying to take over my bank account.
Yeah, but that's why one of the reasons why we changed the color of the corrected tax bills that went out. We changed the color and put right on there corrected, and we also the council also voted to give 2 June and July. I believe June and July is no.
I saw that on the corrected
no penalty,
bills.
And then it goes from there. So
yeah, that's.
But it's all corrected now. We got it done. There was an outcry again because they didn't understand what the levy versus the tax rate.
Right.
So, and that was all explained, on there. They had another, 5.4 was the difference between last year's levy and this year's levy.
Right.
And that has to be on the tax bill. So we had another outcry on that, and we showed them what it was, and now we believe everybody is okay with that. So.
But it's one of those things. It's always like people are, especially if you follow social media. If people were asking me, they're like, "Oh, if you watch social media, man, you can guess who's going to win this election or that election or this election." And I said, you know what? No, I usually think it's the opposite of what you think on social media, because most of the people I know on social media don't vote. Mm-hmm. It's one of those things, or they don't live in Olean, or they don't live in this county, and so they're, I've seen tons of talk about the DA's race when there was competition in it, or different when the county legislator race went down a couple of years ago. People had all these opinions, and not one of them was right. Like, it's one of those, like, if you follow social media, you usually just go the opposite direction, you'll figure it out.
Well, social media it's a good tool, but then it also gives people an avenue of just, they can say anything they want,
right,
without justification or that, and it's too bad,
right,
because there's a lot of misinformation that's out there, and people grab that. They like to grab that misinformation and
think the worst.
Yeah.
Right. Like.
Yeah. So. Like I say all the time that, stop up and see me. My door's open. If I'm available right then, I'll see you right then. And I get a lot of people that do stop by. But I don't get on social media very much because it's very frustrating. I do check it, but
you'll get depression if you follow it. It's not just you, just everybody. Look at the trend with young women. You get these young high school girls that are on Instagram and TikTok, and depression rates are at an all-time high amongst high school females.
Yeah.
So it's one of those, like, we try to limit, like, I try to limit my kids from Snapchat and Twitter and TikTok and all that other stuff. But, but then the other thing that, like, I like I can't remember the philosopher, but it was shared, I think, when Elon first bought Twitter and changed it to X. His quote was, "The best solution to misinformation is, or the best solution to bad speech is more free speech." So if you just let people talk more, eventually, because the theory is that it'll just sink to the bottom because it's garbage, and the wheat, the truth will float to the top.
I know. Well, some of the stuff that I have seen on there is you see the headline, and then you go down and you get somebody saying this is fake news.
Yeah, or you read the headline and it tells you halfway through the article, it kind of explains the headline. I've seen that in some of the major news like articles and stuff, which is more like clickbait. They get you to click on it, and it takes you to there. But it's like, hey, this happened. And then it's like, halfway down the article, it's like, well, yeah, but it didn't happen exactly like we worded it, but we got you reading, huh?
Yeah. Like, I just that's the first time I heard that clickbait was about a week ago.
Oh, yeah.
My grandson says, well, yeah, they get paid for how many times they get you to click on it. So
yeah, and then you go to, and then because there's tons of ads. If you ever get one that takes you to a news article, you'll just be these ads all through it, and it's on just some generic website, and it boosts their traffic, which boosts how much people pay to have those ads there, and so they make a ton of money on dumb stuff like that.
So.
And all they have to tell you is like Lindsay Lohan found, and then just leave it at 3 dots, and you're like, oh, what happened to her?
Yeah, I know.
And
you get a lot of that going on. Yeah, so, but most people have good hearts.
Yeah.
And and especially the people of Olean, and they are concerned, and rightfully so. The last 2 years we've had to exceed the tax cap, but when you look at that, you say, okay, our retirement has gone up for all of our workers.
Sure.
Okay, that's New York State sets that. Our insurance has gone up, and we've been fortunate over the last few years that our and this is the health insurance, we've had I'll call it mild increases, because it's been less than 10%. Most places are getting 10, 12, 14% increases. We've been under 10%.
Right.
And and that's because back about 4 years ago, 5 years ago, we went on a thing with the insurance companies about getting our employees to healthy, what do they call it? Healthy checkups.
Sure. Yeah,
You
they
know,
do. They do preventative maintenance.
Preventative,
They,
preventative medicine.
Right.
The goal, we went on a kick with get our people to get out. We've had
Corporate Challenge is coming up next Thursday, I think.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Are you running in it?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. I signed up the other day.
Okay. So.
I had to try to convince my wife to go walking with us, but she's not.
Okay.
She's.
But when you get into preventive stuff, we found that there was probably people in the city family that hadn't been to the doctor in years.
Yeah.
So we encouraged everybody to get out and go get your checkup. And
there's tons of incentives for not smoking and things like this. Just a lot of.
Yeah. See, I get things in the mail. The latest one I got was they want to give me a not a laptop, but an iPad or something like that, so I can do exercises at home.
Oh, okay.
And that's because of my age. They want me to, get moving. They call it. So they want you to. So I get that. They offer
you
you
one of
that.
You got an Apple Watch?
No, I have a. I don't know what this one is.
Smartwatch though, tracks your steps, tells your pulse. And...
like I haven't done many steps today because I didn't go into work till late today. But it I can get all that stuff. But it's not I guess it's a smartwatch. It's kind of,
mine tracks mine. I had to fire a couple of my guys in the private sector last year, and my blood pressure was super high when I was going into a preventative maintenance doctor's appointment, and they were like, you need to go get they panicked because my primary wasn't there at the time, and I called him. I'm like, Doc, these people are panicking like I'm about to die. Is everything okay? He's like, what are you doing today? I'm like, I gotta go fire 2 guys. I've been stressed out about it all week. And he goes, yeah. Go get a blood pressure cuff at Walmart. Let yourself cool down, and we'll talk about it on Monday. And because it was a Friday that I had to let these guys. And sure enough, but now since then I have ones that link to my Apple, and I do my blood pressure every morning. I do my weight. I do thermostat, and I do the pulse ox.
So you can do everything.
Oh yeah, I just do it all at home, and it goes on, and I share it with Dr. Matt, and he's.
Yeah,
I've
got a friend of mine who has he's got a patch on his arm now, and his blood sugar. He can just tell from he's got a whatever it is that goes on the arm, and he can check his blood sugar whenever he wants to.
Yeah, and a lot of times you can set your phone just to do it automatically, and they got a ton of those.
Yeah, I guess you can, like you said, if your blood pressure goes too high, your phone will. Or your watch will buzz.
And mine's more of a monitoring it at its lowest point throughout the day, and now I understand how certain things stress me out. So
see, we're there. Remember, I don't know. You're probably too young to remember, but Dick Tracy, man, he had wrist radio. We're there. I guess my wife, she can answer the phone on her wrist. So
I can too. But the line of work that I'm in, this thing gets dirty, and I can't hear anybody.
Oh, okay.
So or it'll ring, but it'll the microphone, they can't hear me.
Oh, okay.
So, but it's one of those. So one of the things that came up in the debate, which I know that you touched on, which I think that you answered pretty handily, that I don't think your opponent did, was the homelessness and the drug problem. And I think that a lot of people, they're concerned about it, but I think that they're expecting you to have all the answers. And I guess I'll tell you my take on it after I hear your response again. I mean,
okay. Well, we've got the city does not have resources. Okay, all the resources go to the county. The state for homelessness goes to the county.
Right.
The county is doing a darn good job on allocating those resources and put these people up. Okay.
Right.
Now, if it's under 32 degrees, they have to put them up in a shelter or whatever. We've got the homeless task force going, and we're meeting about monthly, and we're, right now it's a big education thing. We're learning about what each department does, and I think I have all the right players at the table there. We have the faith-based community covered. We have the county there. We have mental health there. We've got CARES.
Casa Trinity.
Casa Trinity's there. we have St. Bonaventure University represented there. Believe it or not, there's college students who are homeless.
Right.
And and so we have all of that going on. We have many organizations. Excuse me. I'm going to take a drink of water. We
Sure.
have many organizations that are there that work with the homeless. We have it used to be community development down in Salamanca. Now it's
Or community action.
community action. I mean, yeah, not community development. Community action, and there's a different name for it now. But,
Okay.
But they're there. They're there. They have a shelter in Salamanca. We have the Genesis House. They're there. So we have all the people that are there, and so we're getting together. We're finding out what's going on. We're finding out what resources there are. It was said that we need a point of contact for these people. We have that. Our police department. Somebody comes into town that's homeless, they go to the police department, and they get them. And we're developing now basically a sheet that is a one-page sheet that'll give them all of the places that'll give them help. And we talked
Sure.
about that at our last meeting, and we're in the process. And they do have that. Cattaraugus County DSS, they have, as any organization, they have their rules.
Sure.
And these people have to follow the rules. The Genesis House, they have their rules.
Yeah, you can't go in there and just
I'll give you an example. I had it was strange. I had a guy call me from Gowanda, and Michiko come in and she says, "I got a guy on the phone. He wants to talk to the mayor," and she says he's from Gowanda. So I said, "Well, put him through." So and I know him. I knew him years ago when I was on the police department. So he says, "I need to talk to the mayor." I says, "You have him." And he says, "Bill?" I says, "Yeah." So he told me his name, and I talked to him, and I says, he says, "I need a place to stay," and I says, "You're calling from Gowanda?" And he says, "Yeah." He says, "Well, I need a place to stay. Nobody will help me here." And I says, "Well, did you have you gone to the police department?" "Yeah." And I'm waiting for the mayor to call me from Gowanda. I says, "Well, I'm sure they can set you up or tell you who's there to help you." And he says, "Well, I did get some. I did go." He told me the place. He says, "But I got kicked out of there." I says, "Why?" He says, "I threatened the people in charge." So I says, "Well, you're not going to get much help doing that." So we ended the call, and then it wasn't probably 2 weeks later, here he comes walking in my office. So I said, "I thought you were in Gowanda. I had to leave there. Say I wasn't welcome there anymore." So I says, "Okay." He says, "I need a place. I need a hotel room. Can you give me a hotel room?" I says, "No, we don't do that. We don't have funds for that." So I says, "Did you go to the Genesis House?" And he says, "Yeah, I got kicked out of there." I says, "Why?" "For threatening people." So and we went through all the places, and he's been, we went through faith-based. You talk to any.
And it's one of those things. It's it's a lot of these problems. Drug addiction. I understand, like, from a biological standpoint, right? Like the same reason that people crave sugar. They love, they love pasta, right? Like there's just there's something inside of you that breaks it down, gets that sugar, and you get that joy in your brain, right? Like you get that chemical release. You look at your phone, you get these teenage kids, they look at their phone, they get the dopamine hits. Their brain is satisfied by that, right? They try drugs. The drugs are great. They makes them feel euphoric, right? And then your body starts to crave these good things. Mm-hmm. And I get that aspect of it, but part of it is also like willpower and being raised right, the moral fabric of society. And nobody takes advantage of the faith-based communities when the kids are younger, and you have less of that. And people are wondering why the moral fabric of our society slowly goes through time, and it starts to look like an old tattered blanket as time goes on. And it's like, I bet if this guy had a solid childhood with good parents and a 2-parent household and was going to was raised in a faith-based community, I don't see why he would be walking into places threatening him and getting kicked out.
Yeah. But, and then we went through the whole gamut. So he finally ended up with, well, have you tried Catholic Charities? And he says, no. And he says, well, where's that at? I says, well, that's down down the west end of town, down in Holiday Park Center.
Oh, they've moved. That's right. Yeah. They're not.
And he says, "Well, how am I going to get there?" I says it's only a 26-block walk. I says, so you
can only lead a horse to. You can only lead a horse to water.
So he says, "You expect me to walk there?" I says, "Well, how did you get here?" He says, "Well, I walked most of the way." I says, "Yeah, I do expect you to go and walk down there." And I says, "And you burned all your bridges. Don't burn it there too." So, and I haven't heard. I don't know. I haven't heard from him in over a couple of months now. So I don't know. But you got. I mean, we have people who are, yes, they are homeless, but some of them are homeless by choice.
Right.
Or
through their actions. I mean, which is their
yeah.
choice, right? They made the
Yeah.
choices that got them where they are.
Mm-hmm. So, but now we're getting it's good weather's coming now. We're going to see an uptick of people in our parks and around, and I guess there was a call the other night that some people were camping in these people's property, and they called the police to get them off the property, and it's amazing how they take liberties with people's property and that. But we'll but and then it'll go through the cycle again, and then so this summer they'll be around different places. I mean, I heard a couple of calls that they're in dumpsters, throwing stuff out of dumpsters, and I know,
Well, there was the one guy that was sleeping in the dumpster at Tim Hortons.
Oh yeah, and he got he must have been up high in that he got. He's the one that they lifted him up and he fell out of it.
Yeah, he was sleeping, I guess, in the dumpster when they took the dumpster up over the truck, because the truck dumps it into the back of it.
Yeah.
And so I guess he must have made a commotion when he woke up inside the truck. So,
but
and then the lovely people on the internet were complaining that the police department gave him a ticket.
Yeah. So, but I mean, you have places that now I know Country Fair locks their dumpsters.
Yeah.
And,
gotta treat it like there's bears around.
Yeah. So it's it's a shame because there's avenues that they can get a meal.
Right.
They can go to the warming house. They can go to Harvest Ministry right on West State Street.
Right.
They go to the food pantries, and they'll give them food. So there's avenues,
Yeah, and that's
feeds.
and that's a large part of it. I don't think the general public understands that
No.
like.
And then there is a component of people with mental health issues, and that's sad.
And
Okay,
yeah.
but there again, Casa Trinity works with these people.
And you can't make people
They'll work
get
with
treatment.
them. The Mental Health Association will work with them. They'll get them the counseling and that they need. But you're right. You can't make them if they don't want help. There is a lot of help out there. There's the governor has put a lot more money on the table for organizations to help with homeless. But there again, that's going to go to the counties. And Cattaraugus County is very good on using that money to help all the residents of Cattaraugus County, not just certain areas.
Certain groups, certain niches, right? Yeah. So, and that was that's one that people don't ever. They don't think about. I just want, like, sometimes I'll get frustrated with the homeless. I just want them gone. Bill, just send the cops through town and just tell them to leave.
Yeah.
But at the same time, there are laws. Like, I might be frustrated. I think I had a rant on here about the homeless, and it's like, yeah, I can rant about it. Mm-hmm. It doesn't mean that you're going to be able to do anything, because there's only certain things you can do. You can't go around and just make the problem disappear.
No, and there's a lot of good people working on the problem.
Right.
Okay, and it's all about resources and what you have to work with in order to solve these problems. Are you ever going to solve the problems? No, but you can probably make a good hit on them.
Right.
Yeah, with them now. I know. I mean, we've had them look at we've had them down in in Franchise Park. The one gazebo there that's kind of out of the way over by the Children's Garden.
Yeah.
They took up. They had hammocks strung across. Was living in there. But then they gotta do things. They defecate on the floor.
Right.
And look what they're doing to our restrooms. We like to have our restrooms around
Oh,
the
yeah,
city
Lincoln.
open up. We just had them now. They just wiped fingernail polish all over the walls and on the toilets and the sinks. And why?
Right.
Why do that? I got a call tonight that there's a group using the park, and their the toilet paper was gone. So we had to get them some more toilet paper because they had to agree. I mean,
because people come in and just steal the toilet paper.
Yeah,
Yeah.
or whatever they do with it. So that's amazing. But it's you try to have nice parks and stuff, and it's there for everybody to use, and that. But I mean, just respect it.
Right.
And you don't have to. Why go into the bathroom and dirty it all up?
Right. And I'm a little government guy, so that was kind of my take. Is like, at what point? Because I remember being on the council and we were talking about things like when we were redoing the rink, for example. Like, are you in? Are you out on, like, there's certain things the government does, right? Like, I want the government for police, fire, and roadways, right? Like, and then people are like, well, what about parks? Like, I can get behind parks, right? Like, I don't expect, like, I don't expect, like the church to buy a lot next to them and put in, you know what I mean, to put in playground equipment.
Mm-hmm.
So I would expect that. And then you start getting down these rabbit holes, though. It's like, okay, well, should you provide a rink? Well, we already had one, so what's the cost of maintaining it? And you weigh these options on things you already have. And then, like, I don't need my city to pay for counselors to go out on the streets and deal with the homeless. We don't have the funding for it. And even if we did, I don't think that our taxpayer dollars should be used for that. There's other programs. There's non-for-profits. There's priests. There's all these people that work with people. So it's one of those.
As long as we can get them, if our there's some pros and cons on having a Chrysler or a crisis counselor that is right assigned to your police department.
Right.
Okay, but I mean, you're looking at a lot of these are in bigger cities that have, many more resources.
Right.
Okay, now there's pros and cons on having a so in an ideal situation, yes, if we had crisis counselors that could be right there, but they're on call.
And they're not also like a trained police officer either.
Right.
They've got some basics.
Mm-hmm.
So now a cop is responsible now for the civilian they're bringing in.
Yep.
So that's I can see that as a con.
Yeah. And there's avenues, they're available. I mean, it's not like it's you can get one. You can probably get one there within a half hour, 45 minutes, maybe even sooner.
Right.
When the need is there. But our police officers do a fantastic job when it comes to dealing with people with mental disabilities and mental issues and that too. And things are getting better at the hospital too. They're going to have there's more funding coming. Like I said, the emergency room is going to be better designed for people that come in with mental health issues.
Right.
For them to treat them. Yeah, you got a person who's having an episode, and they got to sit in a waiting room full of people.
Right. That's just gonna exacerbate the issue.
Yeah. And not only is it gonna exacerbate the situation with that individual, but with the other people there.
Yeah. Right.
It becomes a safety concern then.
Right. Because now you don't want to be here with your sick child because there's a guy over here losing his his mind.
So it's going to be better all the way around. So. One of the things I want to touch on is I don't know how many people realize that we have a methadone clinic in town.
I knew they were going to put one in. I didn't know.
And it's been going now for probably 6-8 months, and it's I haven't heard. I was having monthly meetings with Casa Trinity. We've backed off now to every other month, and it's being very well run.
Right.
You don't see a lot of the vehicles around town anymore that you've seen.
Right.
And they guaranteed me that it would be for the people of Cattaraugus County, and it's so it's.
I know that's an issue with the bigger cities.
Yeah.
Because the reason we bought the house next to us was because we had people that were getting on that bus all the time, and they would have riffraff come here, and so what they use, and they have no qualms like. They have no qualms about like spilling their story on the front porch loud so the whole neighborhood can hear it.
Yeah.
They get on the bus or the minivan and they get in with all their friends. They get paid to go up there. They got paid. The previous landlord got paid for their rent because technically they didn't have to work. So they would, so there was this big thing, and when people are aware that these things are going on, it kind of leaves a bad taste in your mouth. And I know it's not a city issue. It becomes a city issue.
It can, yeah.
Yeah, and so they go up there, and they go into these clinics, and then there's, from the way that these these people that are going, or describe it. There's a line of people out front waiting to buy the methadone pills that they can spit out and sell, and then they trade them for more drugs. Or they use the money that they're given because they can't work, so they get paid to go. They get their rent paid for. That doesn't count as income, so they were getting food stamps, Medicaid, the rental assistance, all this, all these different things. And it's one of those, like, you're like, man, these people are making like $2-3 grand a month, and they're not, like, they have all their bills paid for. They get to walk home with like $700 a week.
Well,
which that's my take home. Like that's
so I've been over to the new site twice now, and it's very well run. They have to have an appointment. They go in, they get right off the bat. They sign in. They meet with a counselor. They get the methadone. It's administered by a nurse to them, so
there's no hiding it under their tongue.
No hiding it, no. And then they meet again with a counselor on the way out, and there's security there all the time too.
Right.
So
prevent loitering.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it was interesting because there's the where it's kept is a real secure safe.
Right.
Out there, so it's very well run. And, and I told him right off the bat, I said, my concern as mayor is that, and I've heard this concern from many people, I don't want to see zombies walking up and down the street.
Right.
On our main street here. And they said that's not what this program is. And so far, they've held true to what the program is.
We do have our fair share of zombies, but it's not. It's probably not because of them.
No.
And so that's
no. We have a few.
I was with the kids the other day. Lachlan took his first guitar lesson. That's what we were talking about when we first got here with these guitars on the wall. And I pulled out my dad's old guitars, and I've been practicing with Lachlan. And we took him to see. He wanted to go to 7-Eleven after his sister took violin, and I take those with her as well. So I do both. It's one of those taxing things I do as a dad. I play guitar with my son, and now I play violin with my daughter. And so he wanted to go to 7-Eleven. We went in there. And there's our famous Larry Ordaways, and they're helping out. He's stocking shelves. He's like, and he comes running in right after the kids bought their slushies. Somebody scared me from behind the dumpster, and there's only one other guy in there. I was like, I'll go with Larry. So I walked around with Larry, and we had to shoo a homeless guy out from behind the dumpster. And then as we're coming back around, this other guy, who we saw earlier blocking traffic because he was kind of stumbling across the street, moving super slow. And he was coming in, and a lot of people got nervous. And I had Quinn lock the truck. And so I checked with Larry to make sure everything was all right. But this guy is just standing there, like moving at like a snail's pace, holding looks like a little girl's Hello Kitty blanket, and one of those pillows that like your grandmother would have with the little balls, the poof balls around the perimeter of it.
Yeah.
And all I kept thinking was, I looked at Larry and I said, Larry, it's not that this guy is acting funny. I want to know where the little girl is. Like, that's in my head. That's what I think. And I know that, like, it's one of those cases. Like, you can't go tell that guy to go clean up his act, like, because he's not going to. And it's.
And he just may be someone who who's has some issues, and that's his safety net, a blanket and the pillow.
Yeah.
And you just I learned a long time ago when I first got on the police department that there's going to be people that you're going to think is strange, and I mean there's been a lot of, I'll put it this, there's been a lot of characters around Olean, but you look at him and
look like Larry's an odd duck. I love Larry.
Larry's our ambassador for Olean. We've had. I mean, I'll go back to we had Joe Babcock years ago. He used to sell papers, on the street, and he had a speech impediment, and he was out on the street selling papers, and you can go down through the number of people that we've had in town who
sure.
have, and
the returning honk for Jesus guy. He was here last week.
He's out there every couple of he took a couple of weeks off there, but. He's out there, so you have. I don't know if you can say these people like this give your location character, or not. But you learn that they're okay. They're not. Everybody's got some issues. Let's
Right.
face it. And and you see people walking around. There's a guy that comes over to Country Fair, and he walks very slow and deliberate. But he's every morning he's walking to Country Fair. He gets
Right.
whatever he gets, turns around and walks back.
Doesn't harm anybody.
No.
Just
Yeah.
I'm trying to think. Adrienne Keough.
Mm-hmm.
She wanders around town. She hits me up for $5 every so often.
Mm-hmm.
I give her the Dan DeRose speech. Spend it on liquor or whatever. No lotto tickets. That's the Dan DeRose speech to Adrienne. But she walks around town, and if you didn't know her, she doesn't say anything to you.
Yeah.
She just walks a straight line, and me and my wife will. We'll get her bottles of water when she's walking by, or we'll
Yeah.
give her money, or we'll lend her a cigarette, or whatever she seems to be looking for. But
Yeah.
So-
there's a lot of people like that. We had many growing up. There was, look at I'll mention Davy Dirks. I don't know if you know Davy Dirks or not.
I don't.
Davy Dirks is what back in the day is what you would consider would have been mongoloid.
Okay.
And Davy Dirks is 73 years old now. Davy Dirks lived down on 15th Street, and he's actually Kathy Bell's uncle, I believe.
Okay.
Okay, the former fire chief's uncle. And Davy was the bat boy for probably every softball team that played at Marcus Park.
Really? Okay.
And he was adopted, or you could say adopted, by all the softball players, and everybody took care of him. Joe DeCerbo, for years, Joe would pick him up, go to his house, pick him up, and bring him to East Olean football games. And Davy would be along the sideline with his clipboard, and and Joe took care of him. So here's a guy that probably I don't know what the life expectancy was, probably early 20s, but he's 73 years old. He's still alive.
Really?
Yeah, just a wonderful individual. So
Yeah. That's. I was gonna say. What she helps out over at the senior center is Jackie.
Jackie Paytek.
Yeah. She was. We saw her at this. I was flipping chickens on Sunday with the Hibernians.
Okay.
And so she was there helping clean up. She does that every year. And
She has cleaned up at most events around the city. She will be there helping.
yeah.
And she's just a wonderful young lady. Jackie's not a young lady.
Right. I was gonna say she's got to be in her 60s.
I would say yeah, late
Yeah.
50s or 60s.
Yeah.
And and she
Was
helps.
it the
She-
Forneys? She's
Yeah.
big in with their family, right? The Forneys.
Yep. And she helps everywhere. Wherever there's an event, she was at the Chambers picnic in the park. She was
Oh,
helping there. She'll help when St. John's was doing their festival. She would help down there. No matter where there's help needed, she's there to help.
That's kind of like Larry. He's our up and coming, and he's Larry had a friend of mine call me and said, "Do you know somewhere I can get shovels?" And so my friend calls me and said, I got this guy, his name is Larry, and he's volunteering to help do the gardens uptown with the city. And he needs shovels and some like spades and little things like that, and maybe, some gloves. And it's Larry Ordway? He goes, yeah. I'm like, I'll call Larry. So I call on Larry, and I'm like, Larry, what do you need? He goes, I need a shovel, I need a little rake, I need a spade, I need a bucket. And so I called one of my guys, and I said, hey, tomorrow afternoon, can you meet Larry? He's going to meet you. I can't remember where they met, but he met him, picked him up, took him to Harbor Freight. They had everything but a spade shovel. They were all sold out. It was the beginning of the season, and I said, he called me, and I was like, just take him to Worth W. Smith. And he goes there, and he's like, well, Larry really likes both shovels. I'm like, Larry, I just bought you like $60 worth of tools, buddy. I was like, just go pick, which one do you want the best? And so we bought Larry a shovel, and he, I guess, one of these days I got to go uptown with him and take a picture of him with his new shovel, because he said he called me like a week later. He's like, these are the best tools. Thanks, Kevin.
Yeah, probably once a week.
Yeah.
Up at the office and says hello, and he's a good guy. He reminds me all the time. They're leaving for, I think it's just Friday. I got to check, but they're leaving for a bowling event
Oh, yeah.
for Special Olympics.
Olympics? Okay.
Yeah. So he'll want to escort for the bus
Oh.
to go out. So, but they do a good job. Yeah, a lot of good. Larry's been. I call him the ambassador.
Yeah.
So
Helps you keep the feud down with Weston Mills, right? Tony Costas.
Tony's living in town now.
Is he?
Yeah.
So he's not the. Oh man, surprised he's not running. He's
He stopped in to see me.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he stops in too. He stops up there, and yeah, I think he's not in Weston Mills anymore. So
No, I heard something about his house being condemned or something. I think the sewer line collapsed or whatever.
yeah.
Actually, it's funny that we're doing this today. As I got home tonight, I got a letter from our dear friend Luke.
Oh,
I know you're on his mailing list too.
I got
so.
one today too. I haven't read it yet.
Oh
so,
yeah, I've got like 15 in this pile that I haven't read yet, and
Okay.
at some point I got.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
They So one more. I guess I don't know how much longer you want to do this for, Bill, but I've got one more. There's a charter commission going on.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And we've been pushing. I was pushing that when I was on the council too, just because it's what 1993, 1992.
It's been a while. Yes.
Yeah. And so this was just kind of cleaning up some laws, trying to figure out, do we revamp the city? Do we not? I've caught a couple of them.
Yeah. I put the charter commission together. As you know, the council wanted to do it, and they didn't feel they could get it going. So they asked me to put it together, so I did. I said I have no problem with that, and so we've got some real good people on there. And if you think back, a charter commission started under Dave Carucci,
Right.
and then they saw what it was going to, and this is what I was told, and I don't know if it's accurate or not, but that it didn't really get going because of the cost involved in it.
Oh.
So they put that to rest, and then so we started up again. They're working on it. I have former Mayor Jim Griffin, who's the chairman of it. Nate Smith, I believe, is the vice chairman. Linda Witt's on there. She's the secretary. And we have Vernon Robinson's on there. Sonia McCall's on there from the council. I have former fire chief Tim
Richardson.
Tim Richardson's on there. Dennis Pezzameni is on there. And I'm drawing a blank on the rest of them. But we got some real good people.
The Ward on there too, right?
Yeah, Ward's on there too.
Yep.
Ward Near. Yeah,
And
he's
then-
on there. And so we got some real good people on there. And they're, the first thing they tackled was, should there be a city manager or should we keep the mayor there? So they went.
And over the years I've heard mixed feelings on it, and I think that's kind of what I think that's what drove it.
Yeah.
From what I remember just that's what a lot of people wanted to put a referendum out there.
Yeah, they wanted to. So, but they that was one of the first things they tackled, and they decided to keep it as a mayor, strong mayor.
Right. And so.
I'm not sure when their next meeting is, but if they want to get it on the
ballot in November.
Yes, thank you. The ballot in November. I think they have to have it ready by August. So.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say, Jim Griffin was a good choice. I've never met Jim. I've heard stories of him, and I've seen those meetings, and he's a no nonsense guy.
No.
He's quick and to the point, and he'll let people speak their piece, and then he'll quickly kibosh it real quick if it's going nowhere.
Yeah.
And
there's a lot of good people on there.
Nate's great. I like Nate, and I served with Nate.
There's a lot of people with a wealth of information there who've been in. I think Larry Sorokas is on there.
Okay. Yep.
And I can't think who else right now. But yeah, they've been meeting. I go there and I'll sit off to the side and listen, answer questions, like that. But or I don't go at all,
Right.
And I wanted it that way. I don't want to have. I want them to. It's their committee. I
Right.
don't want to have influence.
Right.
So.
Yeah, that's good.
So it's good.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And how's Linda doing? I heard she had some issues too. She had a heart
She
attack or
did. She
something.
has some medical issues. She's doing okay. I saw her the other day with Gil,
Yeah.
and she's getting around. So
Yeah.
she says she's doing better.
I was talking to her son the other day. I gotta put a phone call into her, but it's one of those things. It's like I don't talk to Linda that often, so I feel weird about calling somebody because you don't want to catch them in the middle of a doctor's appointment when it's or they should be resting or whatever it is. So
Okay. Well, I've covered a lot of things that I wanted to talk about,
awesome.
and I hope you two got some answers that
Yeah.
one of the things I want to leave with is that, I mean, a lot of some people, not a lot, but are there's indication that I'm too old.
Right.
Well, I've been, there's a lot to say about experience.
Sure.
And I've been, I was in law enforcement for 32 years here. I worked a year running down bad debts for the sheriff's department as a part-time deputy. Then I got, I was fortunate enough to get elected to the Cattaraugus County Legislature. And I got elected my first term. I was 2 years into my second term, which I was a majority leader for both of those years. And then I ran for mayor, and I was fortunate enough to win mayor. So I counted it up, and this is my 51st year in public service, and in my community, and I've had opportunities over the years that I could have left here, but no, I stayed here because I believe in this community, and I think over the years we've made some good progress here.
Right.
If you look at back at 12 years ago, and when they got the Tiger Grant, and that was they got that grant under Linda Witt, and it was very controversial at the time, because of the roundabouts and what they were doing to Union Street, but it was brought about by what our people in the industry, what our CEOs felt was needed to attract people here.
Right. Make it look new.
Yeah, and that's exactly what we're doing now. I know we get criticized because of the walkability and that, but you know what? The community, you see people out walking, you see families out walking,
Right.
And that's just what we're accomplishing. What the people have said we need here in Olean, and we're on the right track now. There was a criticism made that take the money for West State Street and put it into the fixing the river. We didn't. The grant wasn't for that. It was to take care of West State Street.
Sure.
And we are going to be taking care of the infrastructure once we get that, because you're going to have all new sewer. You're going to have separated out where there is storm sewer.
Right.
Going into sanitary sewer. That's going to be corrected, and you're going to have all new water lines down through there. Plus, you're going to have a connection between Olean and St. Bonaventure University to bring some of the college kids into town,
right,
to do that. So we got that going on. Look what we're doing on South Union Street. Yeah, it's inconvenient right now, but it's going to be very nice when it's all done. And you're going to have the shared youth path. There's the keyboard warriors are out there criticizing the yellow lines on the sidewalk. There.
Yeah.
That's what was DOT says on a shared youth path you have to have a divider.
Right. It's I remember being on the council and talking with Bob Ring, and I was like, why are we every time we hit an intersection we have to determine if it has to be a roundabout? I said, like, I don't care. I'm pro roundabout, but there's a lot of constituents that would always complain, why are you always putting roundabouts? And he goes, because there's less accidents in roundabouts. Roundabouts cause less accidents. DOT makes us go through a safety study, and the one thing is, if we have spaces and parameters to put in a roundabout, we all absolutely should, if it also doesn't confine us. And that's the reason why one of the constraints to Henley Street and South Union was that it was on a hill.
Yeah,
you can't put it on the crest of a hill. So
right, and and even after we bid that out and had all the plans there, then DOT come back and said, well, you may have been able to do one there, but everything was in the process now.
And so they gave you some grace and said, yes, let's not. Yeah.
So, but Olean is a good community. We got a lot of good things going on here. When you run for office, you can make any comment you want.
Right.
And I think I've shown in my tenure that we have delivered.
Right. It's a good sentiment to leave it on.
So having said that, I thank you very much for having me here.
Not a problem.
So
well, thanks for watching, guys. you can catch Bill. We'll put up his profile. Will be on our Transistor site, so you can see Bill. He's got a Facebook. He's got a campaign page on Instagram. The website?
No, we didn't. Didn't redo our website.
No. Okay. So, but and then you can check out any of the other local news stations to see information on Bill. I mean, he goes back 12 years on doing this, so there's tons of information to gather out there, and we'll catch you guys next time on Life22.
Hey, we've got a visitor.
Oh boy.